as many know, he was going for record 9, right? Him and Haney tied for 8. We have Phil Heath going for 8 this year. And, I mean, that would have been huge history if Ronnie got to number 9. But I feel there's a lot of respect for Lee Haney. I mean, he won 8 in a row. He retired at 30 years old, which I think is amazing. And that today's bodybuilders go way beyond the age limits we ever imagined. I mean, Dexter Jackson going through this year's Olympia at 49. And Ronnie retired, you know, when he was 44. I retired at 40. I mean, you have a lot of these guys. Sean Rhodes is 43 years old. He's still a contender. So I think the timeline now is expanded with bodybuilding. And why is that? I just think that the body is better in the 30s, to be honest. I think that's when most of these guys are seeing their peak. Some will argue that they're better at 40. I mean, Dexter will tell you he's better at 49 than he was at 39, but I don't think so. I'll tell him that too. I think he was better when he beat me in 08, which I thought was kind of bullshit anyway, but we'll talk a little bit about that. But when I beat Ronnie, you know, it was like, damn, you know, this guy was my idol when I was up and coming. I mean, remember I started at the era when Lee Haney stepped away. I started training in 91. So the era of Dorian Yates came in 92 through, so I looked up a lot to Dorian Yates, and our physiques were like that bigger, you know, wider waist type physique. You know, I didn't have a small waist, so I wanted to look at guys with the structure. I mean, you always have these guys, if a guy's shorter, usually that guy's a fan of a shorter guy or whatever, but Dorian was like the body that I was trying to go after. Even though I wondered sometimes, looking at pictures of Yates in the magazines, how he won sometimes, because I saw some guys I thought looked better, like rounder muscles. We talk about Flex Wheelers and Kevin Lebrones and people that with rounder muscle that I thought. I actually went in 95 to the Mr. Olympia competition, was in Atlanta, Georgia. And I got to see in the 4th row what the Mr. Olympia lineup looked like. And when I saw Yates come out, it was pretty fun. It was pretty incredible. Like, and I knew then why he won. Because when you see it in person and seeing it on videos and whatever else, it's way different. So I can tell anyone in this room, until you've been to the show and watch it, never judge from the videos and the pictures, because it's not the same. He deservedly won that show, and he didn't have the biggest arms, he didn't have the biggest legs, his back was just outrageous, but he just had it, when the package is there in front of you and in the lineup with the guys, and you can watch the transitions and not just the pictures where they show the front double. That's what drives me crazy. You'll see the comparisons on social media, like, oh, well, his front double is better than his, and his back double. You can put up every pose, but the whole transitional thing makes a huge difference of being there in person. So, you know, he was phenomenal. But, you know, getting back to Ronnie, like, you know, I saw him, he was so disappointed to lose that, especially going for that number 9. He had the reign for 8 years, and, you know, people used to say, you've seen the videos, he said, you know, Jason will crack if he thinks he's going to beat me and stuff, you know. So, and we had a great relationship. No matter what anyone thinks, like, we trained together when we traveled. Ronnie's Ronnie. Like, he just breathed and slept bodybuilding. It was just crazy when we would go places. Like, Ronnie would be all about going to the gym, where I actually enjoyed, like, when we were booked for guest appearances, we would actually socialize a little bit. But Ronnie would show up. I mean, we'd fly in for a Friday, you know, we'd fly in Friday for events. The events were usually on Saturday, the bodybuilding shows. And we were booked as number 1 and 2 a lot together. And Ronnie would come off the plane in tights already. He'd come in spandex, so he'd fly with like purple and like pink tights on and his boots, you know. And he'd come off the plane, and, you know, I'd be waiting in baggage at some of these places, and we'd have the same driver, and I'd be like, oh, don't worry, you'll know who he is when he comes, you know. Here comes Ronnie walking down the legs, you know. And he's like, okay, let's get some food and go to the gym. Like, it was like, that was it. He didn't want to do anything else. It was like, okay, let's get food and let's go to the gym. And I'm like, fuck, I'm not ready to work out. I just flew from like a lot of places I would fly further because he was in Texas and I was in Vegas or LA or whatever at the time. So like I was, I get tired when I fly, a little bit dehydrated, that's the worst time to come off the plane and you gotta make sure that you get so dehydrated, you gotta be careful because you can't train like a beast when you're like dehydrated and flying all the time. So I'm like, okay, let's get some food and we'll go to the gym, And he always had the same schedule, so he was different from me. He would train like body parts twice a week. I would train once, but I know Fridays were usually his leg days, and Saturdays were chest. I can recall it like it was yesterday, and I talk about it. It kind of reminisces me a little bit, so I smile a little bit. But so, we go and sometimes we'd be flying in like later at night, like probably 7, 8 o'clock, and by the time we get to hotel, check in, get the food and whatever, here we are, it's like 10, 11, I'm like, man, I don't want to really train right now, I'm tired, and let's just skip and let's go to my Ronnie's like, no, we got to go to the gym, So we go in and, here's Ronnie going right to the squat rack, and he's loading up the plates, I'm like, man, don't go over 4 plates, And I'm like, listen, man, I can only go to 4, And he's like, come on, man, How are you ever going to expect to beat me if you can don't only squat 400 pounds, I went doing 12 rep sets, And Ronnie's just, in the corner, just, doing his thing, like, you get the music playing, whatever. The gym's like open late for us because most of the gyms are closed at this point. And I'm like, no, that's all you keep going, And he would squat 600 pounds, like nothing, 12 times, and that was his whole thing. And then it would be the lock-in lunges, where you used to see the videos he'd be doing outside, and he'd like, we gotta find a place to do these walk-in lunges, And I'm like, okay, I'll do a plate and a quarter, maybe, And Ronnie's like 2 plates, and it's like 275. I'm like, shit. I remember one time I actually tried to keep up with him, and I actually straightened my hamstring. I did 275 in my gym, but it's like when I'm not in my element, it's very hard to train like that. And he was just a beast like that. So, like when I beat him, it was like I saw, how upset he was, and it was kind of hard for me because this was my idol. We had spent a lot of time together. I knew it meant a lot to him, number 9. So it's kind of like, man, I just won Mr. Olympia, but, I beat Ronnie and Ronnie didn't win 9. So it's kind of like, shit. And he was upset and whatever, and then finally he said he came back, he kind of went backstage a little bit, and then, I could actually enjoy the moment a little bit because he said, man, I'm happy for you, you did it, and whatever, and, and then I was Mr. Olympia, and it was pretty amazing. Like, you train your whole life for that, and when I started out training, I remember looking at pictures of Dorian Yates and thinking, I will never be this size. I could never be that big. And then eventually I was that guy, or a guy in the magazine where I used to look and say, man, it must be so cool to be on a magazine cover. And I remember my mom buying every magazine when I was first coming out with magazine covers. Back then, magazine covers meant a lot, right? Nowadays, it's not so much because, people don't even read really magazines. How many people here still read magazines? Probably not many, right? A couple people. Yesterday I asked the same people, 50 people, and like 2 people raised their hand. I get them sent to my house for free, and I don't even open them. I just bring them right to the gym. So don't feel bad, guys. So she collected all the magazines, and she still has an attic full. She just called me like a year ago, and she said, what am I going to do with all these magazines? I'm like, I don't know, Mom. I'm probably worth some money somewhere, But, I was just like all over the place with like publicity, and when you have that step of, I was second, 4 times, and then I won. And I was respected, but when you win the Mr. Olympia, it's like a whole nother level. And I really wasn't almost prepared for that. So like overnight, people talked about it forever. It was like one of the greatest Olympias. No one really ever got beat on Olympia stage. So it's pretty cool that I was the guy that did that, and I was booked like crazy, guest appearances every week. The money went up, and I got to travel a lot of places. And like I said, I really didn't travel internationally a lot. I got a lot of calls for it. But I said, I got to get better, and I got to continue to train, and that was my goal, is to continue to be the best. But I never thought, like I said in the beginning, that I would be Mr. Olympia. And I didn't realize it for the first time that I could win the Mr. Olympia until I placed second to Ronnie Coleman at the 2001 Olympia. That was the first time I actually, so I got these young kids that come up to me at events and they're like, man, I'm gonna be Mr. Olympia someday, you know, and I'm thinking in my head like, man, I never thought that until I was actually toe to toe with the best in the world, you know. Maybe it was just me, my outlook or whatever, maybe that's different, but my mentality was always like, I'm gonna take steps to get there. So like I was a teenage champion, then I won my pro card, and then I worked my way through like the smaller shows. You know, I won Arnold Classics on the way. I really didn't talk about that much, but I mean, that was like the second best show in the world. I was able to win that, you know, 3 years in a row. But I really, really just wanted that Olympia crown. So when I got it, it was like, man, you know, I just achieved like the ultimate goal that I could ever imagine. Like, I could just die on this day and now I could say I'm Mr. Olympia, but, you know, I wanted to win it again. And, you know, obviously did that in 07. And then of course 08, losing to Dexter Jackson, that was very, very difficult for me because, you know, I came in a little off. Dexter was, you know, on the money. I never thought a little guy like that would win the Mr. Olympia, you know, a shorter bodybuilder. No insult to the shorter bodybuilders, but, you know, he won the show. Even though I came back better at night, I thought, you know, I had a better chance to hold on to the title, and I lost. And, you know, I was happy for Dexter, but at the same time, I'm like, well, he's not going to hold this very long because I'm going to come back. And came back in 09, like my best ever, and, you know, swept that show. And, you know, a lot of things, I mean, I'm sure you guys have questions about like what I did different. I'll maybe talk about that in a bit, but like when I came back in 09, it was like, I really was up against a wall where people counted me out. You know, you're the champion, and then all of a sudden, you know, you lose, and then it's like, oh, it's the next guy, right? The next greatest guy.